Hello, and thanks for joining us on Connect MKE. I'm your host, Denise Callaway. Welcome to a new year of shows where we'll share information about what's happening in Milwaukee that makes our community better and stronger. There's an African proverb that states, it takes a village to raise a child. Today we'll learn about two organizations bringing that proverb to life and how you can join them in helping young people succeed. January is National Mentoring Month, and Mentor Greater Milwaukee is dedicated to making sure every child who wants a mentor has one. Joining us to help us learn more about mentoring and Mentor Greater Milwaukee is LaNelle Ramey, Executive Director. LaNelle, what is mentoring and why is it so important?
Well, first of all, Denise, thanks for having us. We appreciate it because we do believe mentoring is really the right tool for all young people. And so mentoring, I like to say people have multiple definitions, multiple thoughts, but the truth of the matter is it's really just being a guide on the side to a young person. It's not about directing their journey. It's about being there as they take their own journey on who they want to become. We all know as adults, this thing we call life can be very difficult to navigate sometimes. But just imagine what that feels like for a young person, in particular, a young person who may not have that adult who really has been through some things in life and who can give them the right supports. So mentoring at the end of the day is being on the side of a young person and reminding them they have someone who cares about them and is going to be there with them as they navigate.
Mentor Greater Milwaukee is really a unique organization. You don't run specific mentoring programs, but you help those organizations that do run mentoring programs get better. What are some of the things that you do to really help organizations?
And yeah, thank you, Denise, because we like to let people know we really want to be considered the connector, right? So when you think about working with our program partners, we really have, three key priorities that we do. The first thing is we really work alongside program partners to help them build their own capacity. And we do that in a couple of ways, through training developments, through technical assistance, and we work alongside of them so they know they have support in building their program out, right? The second thing we do is we use recruitment and we provide recruitment to those organizations. And we do that through an online database called the Mentoring Connector. And that connector allows individuals to learn about all of our program partners in one spot. Unlike word of mouth, which we traditionally hear about all the time when it comes to mentoring, the Mentoring Connector allows an individual interested in being the mentor to go in, put in some very minimal demographics about themselves, and then they get to see which programs match kind of their needs, right? And then the third thing we do at a very high level, I like to say is our number one priority, is advocacy. How do we get people to understand and support mentoring in all aspects of young people's lives? We're not just talking about just in school. We're saying in their neighborhoods, on the job, in their schools, on the basketball court, football fields, soccer fields. A mentor should be readily available for young people everywhere they go. And so Mentor Greater Milwaukee's role is to ensure that people understand that there is capabilities to be mentors anywhere young people are.
It's interesting because you really do have a number of heavy hitter organizations that support the work of Mentor Greater Milwaukee. How did that happen with those organizations coming together and really making a commitment to mentoring and to youth in the community?
Well, when 2016, at the time Superintendent Dr. Driver and at the time Mayor Tom Barrett heard about this mentoring thing, right? They were like, what is this mentor thing? And, the mentoring the National Mentoring Project is actually, I like to say, our corporate partner, right? They said they wanted to learn more about how to bring something like that here to Milwaukee because they had seen it work in other cities, i.e. Baltimore. They've seen it working in New York. They've seen it working in Florida. And they, even in like Nebraska and Minnesota. So the idea was, we can do something like that here in Milwaukee. But here's what I love what happened. Those two leaders didn't just say, we're going to do this regardless. They actually recruited local mentoring programs and said, what do you think? What do you feel about this? How do you think an organization like Mentor being here in Milwaukee will serve you all? And so there were 13 mentoring programs recruited. They came together and they talked about it. And what they found out together in dialogue was there's still a gap. There still needs to be more support. And so along came the Milwaukee Bucks under their leadership and said, you know what? We're going to launch this thing together. And so the Milwaukee Bucks, the city of Milwaukee, and Milwaukee Public Schools became our founding, I like to call them our founding partners, and who helped us jumpstart Mentor Greater Milwaukee.
How are you seeing that collaboration between those 13 organizations and Mentor Greater Milwaukee work? One of the things that we know can happen is that nonprofits, even if they have a similar goal, don't always find it that easy to work together. What has allowed that to happen with Mentor Greater Milwaukee?
Well, I think one, the greater good of serving young people, right? I really do feel once Mentor Greater Milwaukee kind of hit the ground, those organizations really understood this was for the greater good of the young people. But here's a caveat. Mentor Greater Milwaukee helps organizations where they are. So it's not like, everyone has to get the exact same cookie cutter thing from Mentor Greater Milwaukee. They come to us for very specific needs. If it's support at a high level with recruitment, we do that. If there's a special niche, say in training and professional development, we'll come help do that. So there's phenomenal organizations like you think about Big Brothers Big Sisters, you think about Running Rebels or the Boys and Girls Club, who are huge organizations who only may need sliver of support in certain areas. But then there's smaller programs who say, we need help with everything with this mentoring thing. And we sit down and walk them through what it looks like. So what we saw was really a unified effort and a unified connection amongst these organizations to really understand this is about helping more young people, not eliminating. See, here's the other thing, Denise, and I like to share this. Mentoring isn't just for the troubled youth. Mentoring for every young person here. And when I say young person, I'm really talking about anywhere from 6, 7, 8, all the way up to like 24. Because the truth is, young minds are still growing and developing. Right. And that's what these organizations understood, that this was about a greater good and being supportive at the end of the day.
Let's talk about the kind of differences mentoring can make in the lives of young people. There's some pretty interesting statistics about how mentoring helps young people kind of focus on the future and kind of keep things going in the right direction when they're being mentored.
And think about this. When a young person is, say, going through a phase in their life, right? Whether it's 13, because we remember when you were 13, you thought everything was going to blow the world up, right? But when you have a mentor who's able to help guide the thought process, not take it over, because that's the critical thing we want mentors to understand. This isn't about taking thoughts over from young people. This is trying to help them be critical thinkers as they're going through these things. Like, for example, one of the things I like to tell people is a young person with a mentor in their life is 130% more likely to hold a leadership position throughout their life, right? And when I say their life, I'm talking the early life, right? Like as a young high schooler or early college student. The reason that exists is the mentor helped build confidence that otherwise that young person didn't realize they had. So now they're projecting the support through leadership roles. Another statistic I love is young people who have a mentor in their life is 90% more likely to be a mentor when they become an adult as well. So it's like the gift that keeps giving. If you mentor someone, they're going to want to mentor someone, right? And those are some things that we see because really, again, it's about the energy the young person receives, I believe, from that mentor who truly cares for them and is taking this walk with them in this journey and this thing I call life.
So one of the things that I think people always think about when they're saying, well, it's mentoring for me or isn't it? What's a typical mentor look like, or is there such a thing as someone who's a typical mentor?
Here's the thing. A mentor can be anyone. We just say to be a good mentor, there's 3 things you have to remember. 1, you have to be open and vulnerable. As adults, sometimes what we do is when we're around young people, we kind of try to be adult-like all the time. Like we don't want to recollect what it was like to be 16 and sneak out the house or not have good grades. We only want to talk about the now. We have to be open and vulnerable because in that vulnerability, then you have to be willing to share your entire story. You have to be willing to talk about your journey, whether that's remembering what middle school was like when you was an awkward kid, or the loud getting in trouble kid, whatever it might be. You have to be willing to share your story. And but the most important piece is you have to have a commitment to cultural competency. When you talk about working with young people, culture comes in many forms. Yes, race is definitely one of them, but sometimes it's the neighborhoods we bring up or we're brought up in, or it's the schools we attend. That's a culture in itself, but we have to be committed to understanding young people's culture so we can support them in that. Because if we're not, if we don't have a commitment to the cultural competency side, then how are we going to reach a young person who, quote unquote, doesn't come from the era we come from or understand the words we're using? Or even if you're talking about something like when I was young, we used to do this. And they, but when they say something to you, you're scratching your temple, right? You have to be committed to that in order to truly support young people as they, again, walk through this journey.
If someone wants to become a mentor, is there training that's also provided to really kind of help people get to the point where they need to be ready to not just say, I'm going to mentor somebody, but to really be able to make a difference in the life of a young person?
One of the requirements that we have for our program partners is to ensure that they have a training system in place to work with their mentors. So every program partner, and we currently have 65, I believe, programs that we support in our mentoring connector, just in the greater Milwaukee area alone. We have nearly 105, I want to say, throughout the entire state. But one of the criteria is to have a training development program for mentors. We will be doing this year, holding periodical kind of community-based trainings around, and we call it mentoring one-on-one, becoming a mentor, which really is foundational around what are some of the things and concepts you need to have to be a good mentor, and really setting the kind of mindset for adults in order to prepare them before they even step into an organization. So those dates probably will be coming out maybe in mid-February, where there'll be community-based kind of trainings. But we do that to support organizations because, again, organizations are required to do their own training. But I will say this, there are organizations that we actually come in and do that training for them because, again, smaller organizations don't have the capacity to say do all of that sometimes. So we want to provide that support for them.
When you're looking for mentors, how do people go about being able to sign up to become mentors? Do they have to go to the individual organizations, or is it possible for people just to go right to that portal that you have at Mentor Greater Milwaukee?
Absolutely. And that's the benefit and the greatness about our mentoring connector. If someone is interested in being a mentor, they can go to MilwaukeeMentor.com. They can click on Become a Mentor. And then, like I said, put in some basic demographics. And then a number of programs will be showed to them that then they can select and then reach out to that program individually. The great thing about it, again, is as an individual, now I can seek mentoring someone based on kind of my interests. Right now I'm more kind of engaged because I selected where I kind of wanted to go, right? And I did my research. So that's the easiest way for individuals who want to become a mentor is to go through the mentoring connector through our website. And again, that's at MilwaukeeMentor.com.
And you need mentors. There are kids now who are waiting for that adult to step up in their lives to help them.
Listen, 1 in 3 young people right now are without a mentor. There was an interesting study done by the Search Institute, and it was interesting because they did it on schools. And 84% of teachers said they were building meaningful mentoring relationships with young people, where students said, 49% of them said they had no type of mentoring relationships with teachers. So when you think about the need versus the reality, because we as adults sometimes think we have relationships with young people and they're looking at us like, I don't even know you like that, right? There is such a need in our schools, in our community. It's disheartening when we turn on the news sometimes and all we see is negative story about our young people. Like those young people are out of control or those young people are doing this. Well, the truth of the matter is a very limited amount of young people who are engaged in negative activity. there's a big majority of our young people that's just seeking some guidance and a guide on the side to help them kind of take this walk. And so we tell people like, there's different ways to mentor. You can be a coach, you can be a tutor, you can come to one of our MPS schools and work with our middle school kids, or work with our, like for example, the Department of Black and Latino Male Achievement are looking for mentors for their young men that they're serving. So there's so many ways to do it in what we call non-traditional, because a lot of times I think when people hear the word mentor, they think, I don't have the time. That's 10 hours, a day. And it's like, no, there's some great phenomenal programs that sometimes are only 2 hours a month, max. And you can have quality impact on a young person's life by just being present and being there for them. So that need for mentorship and mentors is extremely priority for us right now. Recruitment is key.
And are you looking for male and female mentors to mentor male and female young people?
We're looking for all, but I'm going to be transparent and open. We need more male mentors. We do. We need more male mentors to have a presence in young people's lives, again, in all aspects, right? Ideally, we say during the school year, the school time is a perfect opportunity because, young people need mentorship outside of their teacher in the classroom sometimes, or in the school building. And then, there's organizations like Boys and Girls Club where people can go after school to be mentors. So we need a combination of all, but I know for a fact that a lot of organizations are in need of men mentors to be involved and be engaged.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Hopefully, we've been able to reach and inspire some folks to realize the biggest thing you need to be a mentor is a willingness to help a young person and help them guide their path through life. Thanks so much for joining us. For more information, please visit the Mentor Greater Milwaukee website at milwaukeementor.com. Coming up, we'll learn more about a great way to start Black History Month in February. Stay with us.